Hello everyone, it's Chris, and we are on another long adventure. We're just about on the Grand Island Bridge, the North Grand Island Bridge, heading over one leg of the Niagara River. We're leaving the city of Niagara Falls, and we are on our way to Rhode Island once again for a long 460-mile ride. But this trip involves so much more than that. First of all, in addition to the Rhode Island trip, I've got a conference in the Catskill Mountains. I referenced it in a previous video, but that's the real destination for this journey. I'm tying in a trip to visit family while I'm going to be in the eastern side of New York in the Catskills. So I'm visiting Rhode Island, and then from Rhode Island I'm going to head to the Catskills, and then from the Catskills I'll head home. And so now we're about to head over the second leg of the Niagara River, over the South Grand Island Bridge. But I wanted to tell you a little bit more about this route. So I mentioned the Catskills trip. So to get to the Catskills from Rhode Island, well, first of all, I'll say this trip to Rhode Island, like every trip, is the same route, and it's almost entirely on Interstate 90, which goes from Boston, Massachusetts to Seattle, Washington. We're on it for a very small snippet of that interstate on the New York State Thruway, and then on the Massachusetts Turnpike. Almost the entire trip that I make for this 460 miles is on that one interstate, with a couple of minor diversions. But this trip will be identical on the way to Rhode Island, but coming back from Rhode Island, going to the Catskills, I take an entirely different route. And I'm looking forward to that because that's going to take us into the Catskills. I'm going to stay at a beautiful Catskills resort, and hopefully you'll watch that video. And then coming back from the Catskills to Niagara Falls is another entirely new route for me, and it also involves riding through the Catskills. So this should make for some really great video. But in addition to that, in addition to the route, I want to talk about the 2025 Can-Am model lineup because I am really excited about it. I've watched some videos from some people that I respect that are not particularly excited about it, but I differ with them, and I'll explain why. I'm also going to give you my 2026 predictions on the Can-Am Spyder lineup, because I think they're going to make some changes in 26, and I'll explain why. And this should make for a really great trip and some really great video. So I just gassed up. I'm on the New York State Thruway, Interstate 90, and when I started up, I got a warning, an orange warning light right here, and it said VSS fault. And I know I've heard of VSS faults, but I don't know what it means. I'm moving, I'm mobile, so I'm gonna just say that was one of those kind of gremlins or flukes. If it pops up again, I mean, I'm not gonna let the camera roll for too much longer. I don't want it to pop up again, but if it does, I'll at least be able to capture it on video. But it was very similar to the low fuel orange warning light that pops up right there, only this one said VSS fault. If it happens again, I'll comment again on it. I'm hoping if it does happen again, I can capture it on video. If you have any idea what might have caused that, please comment. That will be the first fault I ever had. I am almost at 6 months with this thing. I've got almost 9,000 miles on it, and just over 8,000 miles, I guess. No faults, no warnings, nothing like that. That's the first one. I hope that's not a bad sign, especially because I've got this long trip today. But if something happens, you're gonna know about it. Okay, gang, we are at a tech stop. New York State and the New York State Thruway system, they have a series of what they call tech stops. They're just pullovers. There's no facilities here in terms of a restroom. You can see the sign there, restrooms at the next service area. But I pulled over because it was shaded here. Often these are built where there are trees. And I wanted to shut down, take a drink, take a break, and more importantly, start the Spyder up again and see if we get that VSS fault. And if we do, I want you to see it. So I'm gonna start her up right now. On. I don't see anything. That's good news. Now I'm gonna hit the start button. Nothing. And nothing is good. So I am going to chalk that up to one of those gremlins that I think I mentioned one time I couldn't get this thing into reverse. I'm going to just chalk that up to something that happens in a blue moon, and everything's good. So I'm going to pick it up talking about a couple of things. My next service appointment, which I already have scheduled, I'll explain that, and also give you my feed on the 2025 model lineup and the 2026 predictions that I've got. Okay folks, so it's a little later in the day. You can see I changed into my Klein Mojave gloves and jersey, but I wanted to talk a little bit about my next service. So I'm going to go to my odometer because I've got a service appointment scheduled, and it's the 9,300 mile service. Now I've got, as you may be able to see, 8,600 miles on it right now. When this trip is done, I'll have 95, 96, 9,700 miles, I estimate, by the time I get back to Niagara Falls. So I'm actually going to be over the 9,300 miles, but not by much. That's not going to be significant at all. I'm disappointed because if you watch my 3,000 mile service video, I pulled into the lot at Buck's Motorsports in Akron, New York to get my service done, and it was exactly 3,000.0 miles. Well, that's not going to happen this time. I'm not going to hit 9,300. It's going to be over that, but that's okay. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the new Can-Am model lineup. We are in Eastern New York now. We're approaching a point on the route where we're going to eventually turn south, heading briefly towards New York City, and then we'll head east again, and we'll eventually jump on the Mass Turnpike. But back to the 2025 Can-Am model rollout. So I am thrilled with the rollout. I know I watched some videos of people who weren't impressed. Some were just outright disappointed, but I'm thrilled with it, even though none of those models appeals to me as a buyer. And I'll explain why I'm thrilled and why they don't appeal to me as a buyer. So first of all, as a Spyder owner who's predicted that the next Spyder revamp will be 2026, I am thrilled that they made a minor change, a couple of minor changes, and I think that they will make the big changes next year. The minor changes that I've read into what they put out on their website are: one, an option, I guess it's standard on Sea to Sky, but an option for a reverse camera. I love that. I just love that. I'm not going to buy a new one for that, but I like the idea that they added that. And the other thing is, it seems like there's so many people that complain about the Kenda tires on the Spyders. Now, I'm only at 9,000 miles, not even, and so I have no complaints about the Kenda tires, but it seems like there's a lot of complaints about them, and my understanding is they're changing them for a more durable tire. So I think that's a good thing. I'm going to talk a little bit later about why I think 2026 is the year they do a complete revamp, and I'm really excited about that. I think I did shoot a couple of videos on some surveys I got from Can-Am that made me really think next year is the year they're going to really change it up, and I'm excited about that. But let's just talk briefly about the Can-Am Canyon. So the Can-Am Canyon, if you don't know yet, and you probably do, is kind of like an off-road capable Spyder. And I've said before, and you may have seen the videos where I've said it would be nice to have a Spyder that was off-road capable. But I don't want to lose the beautiful, perfect touring machine that the Spyder is. I don't want to lose any of that. I just want this to be slightly off-road capable. I'm not going to go climbing mountains. Well, I shouldn't say that because I did climb mountains, but I'm not going to go off-road and like this really technical terrain on the Spyder. I'm not going to do that. When I bought my KTM 890 Adventure, I had a choice. There was the 890 Adventure Standard and the 890 Adventure R. The R was the hardcore off-road model. The Standard was more on-road capable. That's the one I bought. Honda's Africa Twin. They sell a couple of different models. One is very road capable and just barely off-road capable. You won't want to do really gnarly technical terrain on that, but they do make an Africa Twin where you might want to do really gnarly technical terrain. The Suzuki V-Strom, the same thing. They have different gradations in their model lineup, some that lean towards the street and some that lean towards the off-road. Now, it's kind of like the tires on adventure bikes and dual sport bikes. You'll hear the term 90-10 or 80-20. That when you buy an 80-20 tire, it's basically indicative that you're going to spend 80% of your time on the road, 20% off-road. When you see tires that have real, you know, genuine knobbies all over them, those are heavily off-road tires. I want to have all the touring capability I've got right now, with all the luggage, the smoothness and whatnot on my Spyder, but I also want to be able to go on a gravel road or a dirt road or a fire road and not worry about breaking a drive belt, hitting, you know, I bottomed out twice on this Spyder on the road. So imagine going off-road with this thing. So I want to be able to ride a little tiny bit off-road without worrying about bottoming out. So for me, what that means is coming out with an adventure Spyder that maybe has slightly larger radius wheels, maybe slightly more aggressive tires, slightly, a couple of inches added to the ground clearance, either a shaft drive, or I guess the Canyon has a belt guard to protect the belt. I'm not really sure how that works, but I'm open to the idea. But keep all of the other elements that make this such a great touring machine. If Can-Am does that, and I don't know that they'll do that in 2026, I'm not predicting that, but if they do, that will get my interest up. That will pique my interest. Okay, so we are about to cross the Hudson River on the Castleton-on-Hudson Bridge on Interstate 90. And this is the bridge where I have seen on occasion, not often, but on occasion, more than once, a train coming on the train trestle adjacent to the bridge. So hopefully we'll get lucky, but it doesn't look like we're going to get lucky. So this is the Hudson River, and this is an active rail crossing, rail trestle. So to my 2026 predictions. Now, first of all, I want to preface this by saying, I think it was Yogi Berra who said, predictions are always difficult, especially for the future. So I predicted, I don't know, many videos ago that 2026 was the year when they were going to revamp the Spyders. And the reason why I felt that way was the previous iteration of this model went from 2014 to 2019. 6 years. 2014, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. This model is the 23, which is the fifth model year. Let me get this straight. 20, 21, 22, 23. Yeah, the fourth. 24 is the model that's out right now. That's the fifth year. And the 25th was just, the information was just released on the Can-Am website. So that'll be the 6th year of that model. Yes, they've made minor updates. The new TFT display, the 2025 models with the rear camera, and the new revamped tires. But in terms of a real body change and other components changing, maybe can they possibly make this engine, which is, what is it, 10 years old now? Possibly make that engine a little more efficient, maybe add a little capacity to the gas tank. I thought 2026 is the year when this thing's going to be changed, and I'm excited about it. So anyway, I believe that 2026 is the year they're going to revamp it, because I got 2 surveys from Can-Am in the email. One was asking me mostly about the dealer network. I kind of brushed that off. But the other survey, the second survey, asked me a lot of good questions about the product, about technology, and it really made me think these guys are looking to make a change. And there's no way that survey was done in time to make changes to the 2025 model. So I speculated then, and I speculate now, that The changes are, the big changes, the good changes are coming in 2026. We're approaching the Berkshire Mountains, or the Berkshire Hills, and I think what I'm going to do is shut it down here and pick it up when we get to the Berkshires, because they're really beautiful. I want you to see them. Okay folks, so we are on the Massachusetts Turnpike in the Berkshire Mountains, or the Berkshire Hills, I guess, and I'll tell you what I would like to see on the 2026 Can-Am Spyder. And I know I've done a video on this before, so I may be repeating myself with some of these items. I might forget some of these items, and this is in no particular truckers test your service brakes, so I guess we're heading into a pretty steep grade here. But this is in no particular order. So first of all, the engine is 10 years old, at least 10 years old that I know of, and I'm loving the engine. It's obviously a popular engine with Can-Am because they've been using it for 10 years. But I would love to see them figure out a way in Rotax in Austria or wherever they are, to figure out a way to make the engine slightly more fuel efficient. So maybe instead of 35 miles to the gallon, maybe we can get 35 to 40 miles to the gallon. That would be awesome. I'd also love for them to increase the fuel capacity from 7 gallons. I don't know, can they add a gallon? I know that's going to add up space, and that's going to add weight when it's full to the Spyder. I know that's a challenge, but anything they can do to extend the range on this thing would be just great. Some of us who came from two-wheel motorcycles that had sizable fuel tanks for two-wheel motorcycles, 5-6 gallons, but we got 50 miles to the gallon, you know, coming to the Spyder, it's just it's an adjustment. And for a motorcycle, it is really so great for touring. Long distance range would be awesome. So I'd also, first of all, they have to like get their act together with technology. I think what they did in terms of last year, the 2024 models going to TFT display, that's a big step up, but they've got to get their act together with technology, and they have to. They absolutely have to put, for the 2026 models, tire pressure monitoring. And I don't mean like the tire stem valve caps. I mean a true internal TPMS system that has a digital readout on the dash. They've got to do that, especially because it's so difficult to check and fill the rear tire. So I know they'll probably do some body work, because it's this will be in its 6th iteration with the 2025 models, 6 years of the same model, so I'm sure they'll do some cosmetics. And to be honest with you, I'm okay with the way it looks now. I'd be okay if they changed it, if they improved it. I'm sure if they come out with a new look, some people aren't going to like it, some people are going to love it, and I'm not. I hope that I don't like contradict myself, but I don't think I'm going to be disappointed either way, because the aesthetics of this thing comes after the function. You know, Porsche used to have a slogan years ago, form follows function, and it really should, right? And I'm okay with that if Can-Am develops a much improved Spyder that may not look perfect to some people. So I love the storage capacity on this thing. If they could figure out a way to make even more, but certainly not less, you know, I love it where it is right now. So either leave it as it is or add to it. There are a lot of little gremlins with the Spyder. So I discovered a new one today with the VSS fault that popped up for no particular reason that I can discern, but it popped up. So if they could figure out a way to remove those gremlins, the seat shock, I hear people having problems with the rear trunk shock, little things like that. If they could improve those things, that would greatly ramp up the quality on the Can-Am Spyder. Boy, this is a steep grade, isn't it? It seems like we just keep descending. So another thing I'd like to see them do, I think I've mentioned this elsewhere, so you can see I've got 2 devices here powered by USB and 12 volts with this accessory charger that I bought at Sling Mods. It's unconscionable to me that they sell a $30,000 machine without a USB and 12 volts, and even now, because it's 2024 as I'm shooting this, a USB-C charger built into the machine. And I'm not talking about this goofy system they've got in the glove box. I'm not using that ever. I'm not hooking my phone up to that. I'm talking about something just like this that has a rubber, you know, cap just like this that lifts up somewhere on the dash, and, you know, do all three. Do 12 volt, do USB, and do USB-C. You gotta do that. I can't imagine that would cost a lot, but what do I know? But that's certainly something I'd like to see. So I'd love to see the Spyder come out with slightly more, I shouldn't say slightly more, but slight off-road capabilities. And I've already mentioned it, but lift up the nose just a little bit. That's going to impede the front a tiny bit, but have the front nose kind of rake up like a snowmobile's front does. Increase the ground clearance by a couple of inches, maybe slightly bigger tires. If these are 15 inches, I don't even know if these are 15 inches, but if these are 15, make them 16, add an inch or two to the tires with a slight, not like the Canyon, which are very aggressive off-road tires, a slightly more off-road capable tire. I love the fact that they improved the tire for the Spyder in the new models in 2025. I love that. So maybe make them just slightly more off-road capable. I've already mentioned add a guard to the drive belt cog, or maybe go to a shaft drive, give it a little more off-road capability. So I just want to tell you a little bit about what's to come on the channel. So I'm heading to Rhode Island. I'll be in Rhode Island for a week or so. I am hoping to get to Block Island. That will make for an awesome video. Absolutely awesome. When I leave Rhode Island, whether or not I go to Block Island, when I leave Rhode Island, I'm heading to the Catskills, to that resort. That'll make for a good video, riding through the Catskills and leaving the Catskills, leaving that resort, riding through the Catskills on my way home with a new route on the way home. That should make a good video too. If you liked anything about this video, I sure would appreciate it if you'd hit the like button. If you have comments on anything that I had to say about the Spyder, about the VSS fault code, about what I'm projecting for 2026, anything, please comment. And if you're one of the many people who are watching this video and don't subscribe, I sure would appreciate it if you would finally hit subscribe. But whether you do or not, just know that I really appreciate you just watching my videos, especially if you stuck with me through the very end. Until the next video, you have a great day. Bye-bye.